I'm Kate O'Kelly. I've been here for a year, so I've been going up the learning curve really fast over the last year. I've had a previous 30 years working as a doctor in the NHS, so I'm learning this new role. What about you, Jackie?
Well, I'm Jackie Russell. I'm not completely new to local government. I started as, and I still am, a parish councillor, and then I made the transition into county, which is quite a transition. My background was and still is construction, so I've lived and worked very predominantly in a male-dominated profession.
I'm Sue Mullins. This is my second term as a councillor. I was crazy enough to run again, so the first term didn't quite put me off. I've also come into it late because I didn't come to run as a councillor until I'd actually retired from teaching, because if you work for West Sussex, obviously you can't be West Sussex County Councillor. But I've been around politics my whole life, and I had a husband who'd already been here for 8 years, so I knew more or less what I was letting myself in for.
Interesting what you said about being in a male environment, because I know recently there's been a Fawcett report that has reported on the fact that a lot of women are put off by the possibility of going into local government because it is seen as a male environment. One of the things I think is that a lot of people don't really understand what it's like to be in this role, and I think actually the skills we need are all manner of skills that both men and women have, but they're about tenacity and patience and interest in people. And
I think that's quite an interesting perception. It's certainly never, I can say hand on heart, has ever put me off coming into local government, but actually you're quite correct, it is male dominated.
I mean, I think the skills needed to be a councillor are universal skills, and I think women are very suited to this role, and I think we're missing out on a whole pool of talent as we are in those other underrepresented groups as well.
Yeah, I mean, the world is definitely changing, and these days it's not just women that have to look after children, it's also men. And I kind of think we need to get the message out there to them that if they are interested in this kind of role, that all they need to do is care, because actually you can be an extremely effective local councillor and actually not be the big Winston Churchill of the chamber. You don't have to be that, you just have to care. It's just promoting that role and encouraging more interest. I mean, you know, I'm a mother of 4 daughters. All I can do is provide that role model for them and show them what I do in the community and what other women do.
One of the things I really enjoy about being a member is because when you first get elected, you go into your camp, you do spend a lot of time doing your campaigning, you know, doing leaflets, and you know, and then you arrive here and you think, oh, they're all, you know, different parties, and then actually you realise that they're just like you, they're tenacious, they're interested, we've all shared these qualities, and actually working together is really fun, and working cross-party is really fun. And I've really enjoyed being on the task and finish group for the buses, or the task and finish group for the contracts, learning about a thing that I don't really know very much about, and that's really fun, and realising that actually we've got more in common, using that phrase, than we have. And often now when I'm here and I look at my colleagues, I think, God, they're just like me, because they are. Why are we county councillors? Because we're kind of crazily interested and we just get stuck in, don't we?
Yeah, the perception is definitely that we're all enemies in here. But actually, you know, we're all people.
Yeah,
you know, we're all here
really
for people. And actually, we all actually get on. And, you know, you say things in council that I agree with. You'll say things in council that I agree with. I might not admit it. but I definitely, I think, you know, yeah, that's a good idea.
And the rest of the world.
But, you know, we're here for the greater good, aren't we, really? It's not about egos and sides at the end of the day. We've all got leanings, but at the end of the day, we're not a million miles apart.
No, really not.
No,
we're
we're just trying to find that common thread where we can bring it all together and deliver for the residents.
And when it comes to the council chamber, that is what you call the theatre.
It is.
And we react actually in a quite different way to what maybe the way we do when we're doing task and finish groups, or if we're in scrutiny committees, because there you are putting forward your policies and your political view on things. So you do come across a bit different.
The other thing I was going to talk about is the variety of the job, because you have to kind of move from one thing swiftly to another. So, and I've learnt about drainage grips and bits of things that I never even heard. Planning policy. I mean, there's a lot of things. I mean, your background in construction would probably. I mean, I've obviously got my health background. You've got your education background. So we've all come in with our thing, and then suddenly we've not become experts, but you have to get your head around a lot of stuff,
Yeah.
and you have to move from one thing to another, which I find really stimulating and interesting. And I think probably that's one of the things that we are similar on.
You need to know. You need to know everything as
Well,
well. You need to
or at
be
least-
the encyclopedia.
Or at least to know where to go.
They'll know where to go. If I don't know, I know where to point you.
I know who to
yeah,
ask.
yeah, and it's a 24/7 job as well. But that's why I do the job, because the people elected me, and I just want to wave the banner for them and let them know that we are listening.
Yeah, I think that drive's really interesting, because it's funny where it comes from, but there is something about having been elected that makes you kind of think, right, I'm on this and you're on it. We don't let it go.
No.
And it's also handling expectations, because quite often we get contacted about parking or potholes, but all sorts of subjects come up that we can't necessarily solve. But as you say, if you can point people in the right direction, that does help.
I think
in a lot of ways.
that one of the nicest things about this role for me, because there are the huge, great big projects that everybody wants done, like nice big crossings, but it's actually the smallest things that you do for an individual that are so under the radar they would never make the news, that make the biggest impact on their lives for the good. And you can just make that difference in a massive way to them. It's actually such a small thing, but just by being the conduit between the community and the council, you can actually be quite life-changing for them. And I find that bit probably the most rewarding part of the role.